So, to put all of this together, um, and it really started with the fact that I was kidnapped and enslaved, and law enforcement didn't do anything when I started to tell them what had happened to me. And none of that made sense. And that there are other women held there that were slaves, and none of that made sense. And just, you know, looking and observing and seeing that the more I tried to get my story out there, the more things were happening to me to silence me that just aren't possible by the tech that we know. I mean, if you go and see all the links and the articles that I've written, I think you can kind of see somewhat in my TikTok my evolution of thought as I've been exploring and scanning the horizon for evidence, because because the evidence isn't clearly obvious. It's being kept secret, right? So that we don't know what's happening to us. And they're using some kind of advanced tech, and it's outside our playing field in a really strange way, right? Because if we're talking about another kind of physics, which is what Roger Penrose is talking about, literally biologically connected to our brain that we don't even really know, that's problematic for us, especially if it's just me comprehending what's actually happening to us, how we are being attacked. I have a lot of faith in humanity, but we can't, until we know what's happening to us, until we see it, we can't really address it. And whoever is attacking us clearly knows that, because they have gone far, far out of their way to silence me. And I think to silence anyone who has some kind of clue about what's happening. Because you won't see any of it. I mean, these are drones, when they're clearly not. They're not human drones, anyway. So I'm constantly scanning the horizon, trying to find facts that might help me make sense of what's happening to us here. And you should be doing that too. We should all be doing that. And the first step in this war, where we are being currently just completely obliterated, is to secure our communications. As far as I can tell, we don't have any way to communicate clearly with each other. And maybe in real life, but maybe even then, our minds are being impacted by whatever is happening. I'm just throwing all the scary shit out there because we've got to see what's happening to us. We can't address it if we aren't seeing clearly. Anyhow, so one of the big pieces of evidence, I think, and this is going to sound like a strange one, but I also believe, by the way, that humanity ahead of us, right? Because we're talking about time travel here, is fighting, right? They're fighting for themselves. They're fighting for us. It's not just who we are here now. We've got humanity ahead of us coming back and helping us. I mean, that's the only explanation, right? Because look at the tech. Look at what we're facing here. So that's one thing. The other thing is, so Carl Jung has talked about sort of a collective unconscious, that all humanity has this sort of collective unconscious where we sort of all our imaginations somehow combine, and maybe it's connected to this, I'm sure it's connected to this quantum link or quantum connection, whatever. But what that means is our stories, our movies, our books are potentially evidence about what's happening to us, right? Potentially humanity down the road, or just we on some intuitive level are seeing in a deeper way what's happening to us. That's not obvious because it's being prevented from us seeing it, and maybe it's just too strange for us to see. I don't know. How do you see drones when these are obviously not drones, right? That's, maybe some people are just seeing that. You're being manipulated. You're dumb if you think that those are drones. Anyway, so Carl Jung says there's this collective unconscious, and I believe at this point that the stories that we're getting, in our movies and our books and so forth, might be clues. might be evidence, might be, I mean, there's still stories, but they maybe are clues to what's really happening to us. And think about how many dystopian movies we have. How many movies we have about being attacked from outside Earth. I think we're giving ourselves messages that we can't consciously process, or that are being prevented from us here in this Newtonian physics that we live in. And one story in particular stands out to me this morning, and that is Dune. Like, I saw the original Dune many years ago, and then I watched the new Dune movies, and they're so much better. And I think part of the reasons they're so much better is they're so much more relevant to what's happening in our world today. They just have a lot more relevance. I can really connect and relate to the story. And one of the things that I think about that story is that and they're so good. The two most recent Dune movies. I can't wait for the next one to come out. But one of the parts of the story is that there's this, this huge like empire, and there's an emperor, and all these other families sort of have said, okay, to the emperor, you can lead us, but there's a compact between, there's an agreement between them. And that's how he has his power, right? He has managed to bring all these families under his rule through agreements. But as the story goes, the Atreides family has gathered a lot of approval, and has a great reputation, and the emperor becomes fearful that they might topple him, or they might replace him. And so, to undercut them, he sets up a trap where he gave them Dune, which was like this incredibly valuable planet. Watch the movie. And basically it had a resource that's essential to running the empire that's nowhere else. And then another family came and attacked Atreides in the middle of the night, and wiped out the family and wiped out their power and took back control of Dune. And it looks like they were the bad guys, right? The Harkonnens. They were the bad guys. But in actuality, the Emperor had set the whole thing up to get rid of the Atreides family because he felt threatened by them. But he had to keep that secret, because if it became known in this whole, empire that he was doing this horrific stuff to maintain his power, then he would be overthrown. No one would keep the agreements. And I don't know. I'm just thinking about that this morning. I'm thinking, because we don't know what's going on out there. We don't know where these spaceships are. But guaranteed there's politics. Guaranteed there's that, right? Maybe secretively somebody is destroying, some leader out there is destroying humanity before we become what we need to become or could become. And they can't let it be known that they're abusing their power, that they attacked us when we were young, and that they're using some hot, extremely advanced tech on us in a way that should never be used, in an abusive, secretive way. Right? Because it's very hidden. So it might be that the attack on us is not just hidden so that we don't see it, what's happening to us, but it's hidden so that whoever else is out there who is flying these spaceships, or maybe humanity down the road, doesn't see that we are actually under a hidden attack. Just a thought this morning. We should all be scanning the horizon, because we're not getting real facts here. This is a war, and we need to start fighting this war. And the first step, and this is a call out to all you engineers, all you visionaries, everyone who wants to fight for humanity, we need to secure our communications. As far as I can tell, there is no secure communications at this point.